Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I'm really grateful to be able to come and talk to you again this afternoon. And I know it's a time that we're going through that's difficult. It's a time where we have a lot of questions, but it's so good to be able to connect like this at least and encourage one another, hopefully build each other up in our faith. You know, today I'd like to go back to something I talked to you about a few weeks ago that has to do with our head, our heart, and our hands. You might remember we talked about this in the context of how do we get through this season we're in. We're in a season it's hard, it's different, it's unexpected, and you know the problem is it seems to get longer and longer and longer, and we don't know how long it's going to be before we're back to normal. We don't know how long it's going to be before we're back to church as we knew it. And so the longer it goes, the harder it gets to kind of keep our perspective and our focus and our balance. And I'd like to suggest to you again today that the head, the heart, and the hands play such a key role in keeping our perspective. When we talked about the head, we talked about keeping a clear head. I thought about the way that's put in the New Testament. In the New Testament, it says, keep your head in all circumstances. And how easy it is to lose our head right now. We can get angry, we can get upset, we can get discouraged, we can give up, we can be tossed about with every new thing that comes out. And as Sean said on Sunday in his talk, it's so important to keep our perspective. That's another way of saying keep a clear head. I found 3 questions useful to think about, to reflect on during this time. And I think they help us keep a clear head. I suggest that you write them down and that you journal them and do some reflection on this. First question is, what have you learned during this time? God is up to something, and He's always teaching us about Himself and His ways and about our own heart. So what have you learned? Make a note of those things. Second question, what can you celebrate during this time? I mean, God is doing some good things in our lives, and if we're not careful, we'll miss that because we're so focused on the negative. I mean, like you, we've been through our ups and downs as a family and not been able to connect regularly with our friends like we were used to, cut back in income, all that kind of stuff. That's just what we're going through, all of us together at this time. But you know, as Jenny and I sat down the other day, we realized we have a ton of stuff to give God thanks for. He's blessed us more than we ever imagined or expected during this time. And I don't want to lose the opportunity to say thank you to the Lord for all He's done in my life, in our lives during this time. Third question, what are you going to leave behind as you come out of this season? What habits, what mindsets, what perspectives do we need to get rid of when we come out of this time so that we're better people and better positioned to serve the King of Kings? Those are 3 key questions that I think help us keep a clear head. Now, the second thing is a surrendered heart. We need a surrendered heart. The season we're in right now is a season of discipline where God is disciplining His church. And if you read Hebrews 12, it says, no discipline is pleasant, but it's painful. But later on, it yields a harvest of righteousness and peace for those that have been trained by it. To be trained by it, we need to surrender our hearts to what God is up to in our lives and in our community and in our world. Don't fight Him. I don't want to waste this opportunity. I don't want you to waste it either. And then open hands. I think our hands represent what we're willing to give to God and to others. Open hands represent, Lord, I'm available to serve you. And I thought about how easy it is to be so focused on the future. And when we get back to normal, or we get back to church, we get back to the way it used to be, that we forget about living in the moment. You know, this day, today, it's the only day we're guaranteed. We're not guaranteed tomorrow. Some of us might not even make it to when it's back to normal. We might be with Jesus in heaven. Don't miss the opportunities that God is putting right at our feet today to serve Him in our family, in our neighborhoods, as we go about our work. Where are the 1 minute longer conversations that we can engage in? So with clear heads and surrendered hearts and open hands, I believe that God will be able to use us during this time and in great ways when He brings us back together. Can I leave you with one scripture that God gave me this morning that is a good scripture? Isaiah 7:4. And it's basically, again, just sure guides for the time that we live in right now. Be careful, keep calm, and don't be afraid. God bless you, and have a great week.